Hello and welcome to this presentation today. My name is Ollie Eden. I'm currently a student at the University of Roehampton. This subject has focused on the idea of stretch and challenge for gifted and talented learners in physical education settings, and we will get into the presentation now. So in terms of differentiation, definitions and synopsis, one definition that has been given is a teacher's proactive response to learner needs shaped by mindset and guided by general principles of differentiation, such as respectful tasks, flexible grouping, and ongoing assessment and adjustment. Gagne also gave a developmental model which defined gifted and talented individuals as those with outstanding aptitudes or potential in one or more domains, who require differentiated educational experience to reach their full potential and really be pushed. This study is going to explore areas where stretch and challenge can be used and analyse two in particular in conjunction with a case study on high ability learners in a secondary school that we'll get into in more detail. So in terms of the literature that was covered, some of the strategies that were found were opportunities to differentiate through curriculum content. That's one of the ones that we're using today, which I'll get into. Higher order thinking tasks with use of Bloom's taxonomy. So that could be through technical and tactical challenges, as well as use of questioning for those high ability learners to really press them. Independent projects and self-directed learning, use of peer mentoring and leadership opportunities, which we will get again into more detail. The potential to use and incorporate technology and data analysis. Didn't use it for this, but I think with the change in landscape in teaching, that's one that could be really interesting in the future. Extended and enrichment activities. So, for example, the school that I'm in at the moment are heavily going to district athletics and providing lots of opportunities for competitions in school and with other schools. So opportunities to go and push themselves beyond just the PE setting, and challenging through competitive scenarios. So making sure that there's that competitive element in lessons in order to push learners to go against each other and try things and be creative in particularly game-based activities. So this first example of what we're going to be using is differentiation in the curriculum. So Bloom talks of how higher order tasks can challenge learners both creatively, but in giving them challenges through their questioning. So the idea is that learners can get their basic understanding, be able to apply in lesson, analyse and evaluate and build those skills and knowledge around the subject, but then also potentially at the high end, be in a position where they can be really creative and express themselves in the class. Tomlinson also spoke of how there were increased engagement and performance through differentiation in the curriculum. So being able to really stretch, challenge, give opportunities to really test those high ability learners and go from there. Harris also spoke of how tiered activities would help with whole class engagement. So this could be even for the low ability learners. They have a checklist. Can they go and complete certain tasks and go on to the next lever? And then obviously for the high ability learners, they have really kind of testing challenges in lesson where they go after challenges and tasks and can really try and test their abilities. Challenges with this include some of the resource intensity. It requires a lot of resources and challenge for the teacher as well when organising these lessons. Risk of stigmatization. So if people aren't picked, they may not interact quite as much with their peers, but also in the lesson. That can also lead to perceived favoritism if the same learners are being picked again and again and again. It's likely to happen in PE because the more athletic learners will be better across sports, but it is something that teachers need to be mindful of. And there's also the potential to over-challenge learners, which was mentioned by Sousa. So if unrealistic expectations or tasks are given, then this might overstimulate the learners. In terms of leadership, the other half of this case study, responsibilities that are given out in lessons. So Bailey talks how this can help to promote high ability learners to take on leadership tasks, such as leading warm-ups, coaching, refereeing, providing tutorials, which of course always happens in PE. Van Tassel-Basker also spoke of how this highlights the need for flexible groupings, and with that, there's opportunities for the high ability learners to take a lead and kind of provide real support to their peers as well. Lava Wagner spoke of how this can help to reinforce the content through instruction as learners think more about the content that's being provided and how they're packaging it when they are leading, whilst Cohen discusses the peer interaction and social development benefits of this. Issues may include some of the increased stress in lessons. So if a learner's quite kind of introverted and then they're being asked to lead, even if they are a high ability, that might kind of decrease their ability or engagement in the lesson. There's a potential for risk of exclusion or inequality if learners feel like they haven't been selected or they're not being involved, while the varying quality of that mentoring could be questioned as well, depending on the learner's ability to take in the information but then repackage it for their peers as well. So this case study is set in a 11 to 18 co-ed Church of England school in Surrey. It has academy status, and it does have its own sixth form. It was carried out, this study was carried out with 4 high ability learners in a top set Year 9 girls class during their athletics block, and 4 top learners in the boys half where they were on their cricket block. Findings were made through teacher observations and mentor discussions, as well as providing a questionnaire for the learners who came back with feedback on their experience in the task setting lesson. So in terms of the Year 9 boys cricket, they were split into 2 halves. So there was a high ability and a low ability game going on. Learners were set individual challenges to bat from a spin bowler or to score a certain amount of runs. There were also technical challenges in there. So could they hit with disguise round the corner and be really kind of clever and tactical with it? I think some of the findings, there was increased empowerment and motivation with the learners, increased peer motivation, and they did try and really kind of challenge and support each other. Learners enjoyed the activity, provided more self-reflection in some of their thoughts when coming back after the lesson, while there were opportunities for further challenge in future lessons. One of the issues may be the possibilities for lower ability learners not to be as involved, but I think that's something where the teacher needs to be really mindful, kind of going between the 2 pitches that were in play. In terms of the girls' half, they were focusing on leadership responsibilities in lessons. So they had the opportunity with clear roles given of leading warm-ups, peer feedback on running technique, as well as providing countdowns and taking timings in the lesson. So lots of work that was going on during the lesson. It was a really nice environment, but it allowed the girls also to consider their technical points that were covered. And that wasn't just the girls that were leading, it was the others as well that were chipping in, which was really nice to see. Higher ability reported feeling really empowered, not only in terms of being able to perform themselves with the 200 metre sprint, but also in their confidence in being able to lead. Increased time was probably required. I don't think it was as quick and as smooth as a teacher-led lesson, but it was something that I think allowed the learners to give it a go. I think it also needs to be considered that some learners may have felt disheartened if they weren't selected as one of the high ability learners. So in terms of conclusions and recommendations, I think it was clear there was an increased motivation across both groups and within the literature that was provided. Both tasks elicited further consideration, particularly in the cricket where they were considering, tactical, how do I need to set up the field if I'm bowling in a particular way, or if they're fielding in a particular way, how am I going to bat? Obviously for the girls, I think there was considerable information thought about when they were given the information, but then also reflecting on that. Clear need for the awareness and exclusion of lower ability learners. So I think that's on both halves. I think that's something that needs to be kept an eye on. And a recommendation with that would be to make sure that, first of all, that time is really kind of allocated carefully in lesson, but then also in terms of the wider curriculum, that this lesson can be used, but it's probably not the predominant lesson that is used. I think a good blend and a mix of teacher-led lessons as well as higher ability challenges, which always happen in PE, mixed in with peer mentoring opportunities, and then potentially a leadership lesson per block, would be beneficial across the curriculum for each sport as they go through. I think it gives them the opportunity to deliver and lead, but then also consider their own ability in the actual lesson that's being provided. Another further study could include questions posed across the class to explore any side effects. So if the data's coming back and it's showing that people are feeling negative because they're not being kind of shown or any interest, that may be an issue, but then also I think it'd be really good to highlight the positives as well. Here's the references, and thank you for listening.